Hey Shark fans, it's Melinda Marsalis. Welcome to Heard It on the Shark. Heard It on the Shark is a weekly interview show that airs every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi. Then it's released as a podcast on all the major podcast platforms. You'll hear interviews with the movers and shakers in North Mississippi who are making things happen. I'll talk to entrepreneurs, leaders of business, medicine, education, and the people behind all the amazing things happening in North Mississippi. When people ask you, how did you know about that? You'll say, I heard it on the Shark. Musical credit belongs to Hill Country Blues guitar legend Gary Burnside and the late great Buddy Grisham, playing Long Way Home from their album Acoustic Brothers, which was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Hey Shark fans, it's Melinda with another episode of Heard It on the Shark. And today in Sun Bear Studio, I have my good friend Joyce Graddy, who is the career coach at Ripley High School in Ripley, Mississippi. Now, Joyce is going to wrap up our four-part series on career coaches. If you remember, we started out talking about how career coaches set high school kids up on shadow days where they can get a peek at what's going on in businesses and industries around town. And then the second week we talked about actual internships, longer periods of times where high school people get set up and they have 100 hours inside of a company. The third week we talked about how we're getting the industries and the schools on the same page. What are the skills that these industries need to see in these students? And Joyce is going to wrap it up with sort of a culminating event that actually took place this morning. So Joyce, I know you're tired, but thanks for coming on over and talking about this while it's fresh on your mind.
Well, thank you for having me here today. I am really excited to talk about this. I am a first-year career coach, but as some of you who have listened to The Shark for quite a while used to do a podcast called Kickstart Your Career. So workforce development is something that's close to my heart. So I'm really happy to be able to be in this position now to actually work with students, not just the community.
What was the name of this event?
We've named it RHS Launch Point, and it was the first time that we've done it. Hopefully we will continue to do this. It'll become an annual thing for our students, especially our juniors in the spring of their junior year. We named it Launch Point because this is giving them some experience to help launch them into the world of work. Many of them have not had a job at all, or they're at the beginning of getting a part-time job, and they may have talked with someone to get that job, but they haven't really had a real interview. So some of the things that we did today were mock interviews, and we had industry people that came in and did those for us. We can talk more about that in just a second. We also had some budgeting situations. We had some scenarios that people came in and did with Regions Bank, and we also had someone with Regions Bank that came in and talked to them about going ahead and starting savings and different types of investments and things like that. So it tied in with the economics of it as well as practical skills in mock interviewing.
Let's talk more about the budgeting scenario that you put the kids in, because I helped with the interview, so I saw that happen, but I couldn't see what was going on in that budgeting scenario.
Well, Regions Bank has partnered with us for this event, and they did a great job. They brought so many people from within their organization, not just from our local Regions Bank, but also from those that are in counties adjoining us. And one of the programs that was presented was about investing, savings, budgeting, how you need to start from your very first paycheck and your very first regular job that you have. Go ahead and start putting some money back. Whether for some of them it might be for a car or a truck or tires for an older vehicle that they're getting. He talked to them about a lot of different things, 401ks, Roth accounts, all types of things. And I was really surprised at some of the questions that students were asking. And there are, several students that have their own little side business, whether it's yard work or doing some odd jobs for different people. And so some of them already have a regular income coming in. And they were really, really interested in, I need to be saving, I could be doing this. And we're asking some pretty good questions. After they left that area, or that rotation is what we called it, they went straight into Regions Bank's reality check. And it is where students were given a scenario or a persona, and they had to go through all of these different stages to fill out a budget for a monthly amount.
What do you mean a persona?
For example, they may have been given the persona of someone who is an elementary school teacher that makes $44,000 a year. And on that same persona, it says you're married and your spouse makes, $28,000 or $30,000 a year. But you also have 3 children and they're all teenagers. So
they didn't get to choose all this.
No, they were given that. And they didn't get to choose who they were, what they were making. But they did get to make choices at each one of the tables that they went to, such as utilities. Of course, you've got to have utilities, but you can have higher level utilities than maybe just the basics. In housing, such as one option was a 2-bedroom apartment. The next option was a 3-bedroom house. And the next one was a 4-bedroom house. Well, the thing is, the 4-bedroom house would be great for these students or this persona that is married, both spouses are employed, and they've got 3 kids, so everybody'd have their own room. But it was $2,500 a month, whereas the smaller house was $1,000 a month. So they have to start looking at some of that budgeting. Then they look at subscriptions. And somebody asked, they said, what does that mean?
Oh, like Hulu?
Exactly, like Hulu, like your phone. Your cell phone, how much that's going to cost. Your internet, are you going to have high speed or are you just getting basic? So they had some different options. And the goal was when they had gone through all of those stages, they get to the bank at the end and they hope to have money left in their account.
Did they?
Well, I had one young man, I asked him, I said, well, how'd you do? He said, I had $7 left at the end of the month. And I went,
I've had less.
That's exactly what I said. I said, well, 7 is good. I said, because 7 is not 7 under. You're not getting an overdraft. I said, you're okay. He said, I wanted to give back one of those kids. And I said, yeah.
That would have saved money.
That would have saved money, but it's a little too late to be thinking that now.
So these are just great experiences for everybody their age to have. I know those interviews were good because while they were really prepared with their resume, the ones I interviewed were very
articulate.
Not just articulate, they knew what was on their resume. They were aware. It wasn't like they wrote it 2 years ago and they haven't thought about it in 2 years. It was a recent document. They were well versed in the items on their resume, which is not always true. But it was very obvious to me that they had not ever interviewed for a job with a stranger.
Right.
They might have asked their uncle for a job or their mama's friend. Most everybody in a small town, when you get your first job, it's a reference.
It's somebody that you knew.
That's right. And so to actually sit with another adult and talk to them about yourself, that was a good experience for them to have.
Well, and some of them even said that as I would meet them in the hall this afternoon, I would say, how did it go? What did you think? Oh, it was really good experience. And I was really surprised the number of students that said that. And I was glad that was their response because they felt like they really got something from that. The whole goal was for them to become comfortable talking with an adult they do not know in a business environment, so that they have a way to come up with an answer on the fly. They may already be prepared and know, but they don't know how that interviewer is going to ask that question.
That's great. That's a good event, and I look forward to participating in more in years to come because I think that just puts our young people on the right foot. So thanks for doing that.
I agree. And I do want to give a shout out to our principal, Miss Anita Hood, and definitely our counselor, Miss Leslie Stroop. They have been instrumental in helping make sure that this happened. Miss Sarah Bird, who is our college and career readiness teacher, has done a fantastic job helping them. She, too, is in her first year. So we're both trying to give the students what they actually need.
It's a great team that is helping them across the county and across the state. So I'm glad you're part of that. Well, Joyce, thank you for coming in and wrapping up this series on career coaches. And I hope that you have a good summer getting ready for next year.
And thank you for letting me be here today.
Shark fans, that's it for this edition of Heard It on the Shark. Tune in every Tuesday at 11 a.m. to find out what's happening with other local community leaders like Joyce. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for an interview, or if you want access to this interview, you can go to our website, shark1023.com, and click on the podcast tab. Keep it tuned to the Shark 1023 and have a great rest of the day. This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcast. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com.